Hey gang, today I want to dig into a few questions that I got from viewers in the comment sections of videos, and I just kind of want to talk about them a little bit more than I can go into in a comment section in a video. So today we're going to cover questions on the relationship between HCl and the gut biome. We're going to talk about reactions from doing a flush, and we're going to talk about some silent reflux type symptoms. Let's get at it.
TC Hill is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So I'm going to try and keep these viewer question videos a little bit shorter. We all know that I can have a hard time shutting up sometimes. And keep in mind that when I'm asking a question here, whether it was you that asked the question or if you're in a similar situation, I'm not stating things that are appropriate for you, and because there's no way that I would know what's appropriate for you. We have to keep in mind that we are all different, and that the remedy that could work great for one symptom for one person can make another person with the same symptom much worse. So it's really about understanding our bioindividuality and understanding how to look at our body chemistry to get ideas of what may be best for us and our unique situation. So if I talk about anything that maybe you don't understand and maybe I'm not going to cover in this video, because that'll just make every video like an hour and 17 minutes long, you can just grab my book for free in the description, Kick Your Fat in the Nuts, and that walks you through how to look at your bioindividuality and understand these things a little bit better. So you can get that for free in the description. But right now, let's just jump into some questions. And the first one is from Harrison, and he posted this on the How to Wipe Out Bad Bacteria in the Stomach video. And he says, do you have a perspective on how probiotics help stomach acid? Is it possible that the probiotics are setting up house in the stomach and reducing the impact of alkalizing bacteria? To me, probiotics would be exerting actions in the intestine, I'm thinking large, so I don't see how they would help stomach acid. So that's a good way to view it. And Shawshank asked a similar question in the How I Lost My Voice for 8 Years video, and they asked connection between stomach acid and the microbiome. Also, can you include how fermented pickle helps grow good microbes in the gut? So let's look at a couple things here, and basically Harrison was kind of on the right track a little bit, because I don't view probiotics as really directly affecting HCl production, but in a roundabout way it really can. Because the good bacteria in our gut actually really helps us digest our food and get the nutrients out of our food. So the thing is about HCl in the stomach is that the body needs minerals and nutrients to be able to produce that HCl. And a lot of people won't be making enough stomach acid just because they don't have the nutrients and resources to make that stomach acid. And then when they're not making enough stomach acid, then they can't break that food down and really get all the nutrients out of that food so that they can make enough HCl. So they can get stuck in this cycle of broken digestion for years or even decades. But another thing we want to look at is that when there isn't enough HCl there, then the front door is open. And bad bacteria and other varmints are coming in on the food that we ate. And I should give 10,000 points for using the word varmints right there. But they're coming in on the food that we're eating. There's no way to really avoid that. And the stomach acid is there as our barrier. It's there to fry all these varmints that come in an acid bath so they don't come in and kind of take over the system. So when that HCl is not there, it really sets up the body to allow these bad infections to come in, and then they'll take over, and then it kind of diminishes the ability for the good bacteria to thrive and really help us digest our food and get the nutrients out of that food. So when there's not enough HCl, it can really set up that whole gut situation to become more problematic, when it really should be a situation where it's helpful and that they're partnering with us and they're helping us get nutrients out of our food. And yes, this should really be happening in the large intestine, like Harrison mentioned. It shouldn't be happening in the stomach or even the small intestine. There can be some bacteria in the small intestine, but there really shouldn't be a lot. There shouldn't be an overgrowth. And when there is, we call that small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or SIBO. And one of the questions about dealing with, alkalizing, microbes and such, it's not that the microbes are really alkalizing the situation. It's that the waste product from a lot of these bacteria is alkaline. So especially if there's a lot of bacteria in the stomach, that waste product is going to further alkalize the stomach and reduce your ability to acidify the food and really break it down. So we really don't want those bacteria in the stomach or even in the small intestine, because they can make everything a little too alkaline. They can even slow down your stool and create constipation issues because the stool is now too alkaline. So we really don't want those things in the stomach or the small intestine. We want the good gut bacteria to be in the large intestine. Now, as far as using fermented pickles to grow good microbes, this can be a great thing. It's a good thing. You know, a lot of fermented vegetables can be very beneficial in providing that good gut flora, that probiotic gut flora. Pickles are not my first choice for everybody, just because the vinegar in the pickles can be very pro-anabolic, and some people's chemistry is already leaning too far on the anabolic side. So when you push them too far anabolic, it can create a lot of trouble. And if that's new information for you, we'll put a link in the description below for our video on Is My Circadian Rhythm Off? And that'll kind of help you understand, am I maybe leaning too far on the anabolic side already? And is something with vinegar in it going to magnify that problem and maybe really create some trouble for me? But you can see, you know, any beneficial bacteria, probiotics, are not directly affecting the HCl, but when you understand the relationship between the two, they can really affect each other, and we kind of want everything working so that it can all work together the right way. The next question comes from DS Northern on our How to Do a Bflow Flush video. And a Bflow Flush is just where we use a supplement called Bflow, and we do like a little bit of a higher level of Bflow in a 2-hour period to kind of speed up the process of thinning out bile and help somebody get that bile really moving. So DS says, before trying the Bflow Flush, I ate fatty proteins. I would feel nauseous and lose my appetite for several hours. My back door was more like a water gate in the Panama Canal. I couldn't eat past 8 p.m. without developing GERD at night. I tried the Bflow Flush, and the next day I felt lethargic and slightly disoriented. That's not no fun. I rested, drank a lot of water, and by the second day I felt lighter. My stomach felt better, and my normal ocean tides out the back door went silent for about 2 days. Then I developed lower left abdominal pains. Turns out I had gone from having rocket diarrhea to stone cold Steve Austin constipation. I didn't write this. I really like the descriptive stuff here, DS. Eventually it cleared up now. 2 weeks later, things seem to be on track. The back door isn't swinging open 10 times a day, and the poopsicles are more chocolate than banana cream color. I'm taking the Bflow supplements every once in a while and keeping an eye on the porcelain Buddha for signs that Rocket Man might be returning. So far, so good, I think. So this is actually a pretty common reaction to somebody doing a Bflow Flush or taking steps to really get bile flowing when it hasn't been flowing for a long time. If bile hasn't been flowing, remember the liver puts a lot of our filth and toxins into that bile, so as the bile is going through the intestinal tract, it can carry those toxins out the back door. So if bile is really backed up and hasn't been moving, and a person takes steps to thin that out and get that bile moving again, then a lot of those backed up toxins can start coming out almost too quickly, and a person can either feel lousy, they might feel nauseous, they might even have like a skin reaction where they start having a rash or some type of breakout situation because all of these toxins are coming out a little bit too fast, and it's more than the body can deal with. So the body's like, I got to get some of this out of here, and it'll start pushing it out through pores in the skin, and those toxins will block up the pores and create like a reaction or some type of breakout situation. So those types of things are common, and they generally go away as soon as enough toxins are getting out of the body, and then the person can feel a little bit human. DS said they drank a little more water, and that really can be helpful just to wash out more toxins and such. They also said that they got constipated. And when we think about how the stool works, it moves through the body at a pace according to its acidity level. So when someone is not producing enough bile, or the bile is too thick and it's not flowing correctly, which is much more common, it's much more common to see bile that has become too thick to flow. When that's not flowing and the bile is not coming down to neutralize the acids that are leaving the stomach, then now that stool is very acidic because the acids didn't get neutralized. So now it's going to scream through the system, and the body's going to bring water from everywhere just to try to cool off those acids, and then it shoots out the back door like a rocket, like they were talking about. So once bile is improved and flowing better, then it comes down and it will neutralize that stomach acid, and then it works better. But if a person is not making a whole lot of stomach acid, but maybe they had like no bile flow at all. When they improve bile flow, now the alkaline side of digestion may be more powerful than the stomach acid side. So now maybe the stool is leaning more on the alkaline side, and it will really slow down and can result in that constipation type issue. So we really like to see people work on both sides of digestion when there's troubles on both sides, so that you don't fix one faster than the other one and then create either constipation or diarrhea. If I'm going to err, I prefer to err on the side of constipation. I really don't like to see people create diarrhea issues by improving stomach acid levels when they don't have enough bile flow, because that can create diarrhea and a whole lot of other trouble. So I prefer to see people err on the side of maybe I get a little more constipated and I get a little bit more aggressive about improving bile flow before I would take a whole lot of steps to improve any low stomach acid issues. But again, you can see how I can't tell somebody what they should do because I don't know what their body's doing and how it's operating. It's really important to look at your body and get an idea of what's going on so that you know what's going to be appropriate for you. So obviously I'm not giving you any advice, because how could I? Our last question is from Lollylaws, and it was posted on our What's Causing My Chronic Cough video. And I'll put links to all these videos where people posted them in the description below, and you're just like, oh, that sounds like an interesting video, I want to see that. But Lollylaws says, a question I'm trying to understand and can't find an answer is about reflux that doesn't feel acidic. Almost like when you eat and drink a bit of food and drink refluxes back up, but doesn't have that acidic taste or burning. So is this still referred to as acid reflux, GERD, or is this something else? Another question I have is about stomach acid. If most cases of acid reflux are due to low stomach acid, then why is it that known foods like garlic, onions, spices, tomatoes make things worse? Wouldn't eating acidic foods help if the acid reflux is due to low stomach acid rather than making things worse, as those foods would give more acid to the stomach, which is apparently low? So this is a really common misconception just about acidic foods in general. There's all these things about these pH gurus out there that talk about, oh, this food is acidic and this food is alkalizing. It's really a lot of fiction, because we all process foods differently, and how we break them down is going to dictate, do they have the ability to push pH in one direction or another. And any foods that might lean a little bit on the acidic side, it's not like it's as acidic as stomach acid would be. So remember that the worst scenario for acid reflux can be to have a small amount of acid but not have enough stomach acid to trigger that LES valve at the bottom of the esophagus to close. That thing is triggered by stomach acid. So if that's new information for you, we'll put a link in the description below for our video on understanding acid reflux. But don't view the foods as they're acidic. A lot of those foods have the ability to activate bacteria in one way or another, and if there's a bacterial overgrowth in the stomach, then it can kind of activate them, which creates more gases and more pressure that pushes food back up. And sometimes if a food does have a slightly acidic nature, then yeah, that could really make things worse if you're slightly acidifying the stomach instead of acidifying it enough to trigger that LES valve to close. Especially in a case where a person is having reflux where they're not really feeling it. It doesn't feel acidic, even whether that's in a heartburn situation in the chest or even up in the throat where it might feel acidic or create some trouble. I had similar situations, and I remember looking for this same answer. I was like, do I even have acid reflux? I'm not getting heartburn. What's going on? Why am I losing my voice? And all that kind of stuff. And so what we need to understand is that there are digestive enzymes in the stomach that are made to help us digest protein. Well, guess what your esophagus and all these tissues up here is all made of? It's made of protein. So even when you're not having enough acid in the stomach to feel a burning sensation when things are refluxing back up, when there's not enough stomach acid to trigger that LES valve to close, it's really likely that things are coming back up because that valve is not closing properly. And when the stomach is not acidic enough, it's very likely that bad guys are coming in and setting up camp. And we'll put links in the description below for studies that have shown that low stomach acid can lead to these infections in the stomach and small intestine and such. And when that's the case, those bacteria are going to create those gases and pressure and push things back up. So we can have things coming back up, but when there's no acid, you won't feel that. But also, if someone has been having reflux for a long time, the irritation of that acid on the esophagus can cause the cells of that tissue lining to change. and they will change in an effort to protect those tissues. And this can lead to issues like Barrett's esophagus, or where someone might have a hard time swallowing and things like that, because those tissue structure is changing so that it can basically adapt to these acids that should not be there. So when it's adapted enough, then you won't feel that acid. So you could be getting reflux and not feel anything, and they kind of call this silent reflux, and they have other fancy names for it too. But that's basically where you're just not experiencing that pain because the tissues have changed in a way where to kind of help protect themselves a little bit. So you can see that there's a variety of things that could cause this type of symptom where there's reflux without burning. So again, you can't really understand what a person should do, and I don't have a way to answer that question for a person if I don't understand what's going on with their body and how their body's operating. So you really want to dig deeper and become a health detective and look at how your physiology is operating and figure out what steps are going to help you instead of just what steps are popular out there. Because a step that's going to help one person can make another person a whole lot worse. So I hope that was helpful. If you have other questions that you want me to cover like this, just put them in the comments below, and I'll try to make more videos like this where I'm digging into some of your questions a little bit more. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.